It's Tuesday, the 1st of February, 2022. In today's show, we are discussing the ins and outs of yesterday's Josh Bowl-fueled transfer deadline day. We'll also be discussing a quality point at runaway championship table toppers Fulham on Saturday. I'm John Sproul, Seasiders Croaky podcast. Fulham 1, Blackpool 1.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody out there. Welcome to the stream. Welcome on YouTube. Welcome on Facebook. Welcome on any Twitch viewers. Don't think we have yet. If you're on Twitch, say hello in the comments. Yeah, welcome back to the Seaside's podcast. A couple of days late after the Fulham game, Tim, a decision was made to postpone the Fulham post-match show, and nothing to do with the fact that we're all old and jaded and really couldn't handle 2 days on the piss in a row, is it?
No, it was probably a wise decision. All I can say is, though, before we start, welcome, Leanne. It's good to see you awake, because last time we saw her, John, at least we stayed awake on Saturday night, which is more than she did. We saw her with her mouth open, snoring away in the temperance. So it's good to see you back with us, Leanne.
Well, Tim, maybe you should have given us some tips of being a night owl and having it large, because you were last spotted on Friday evening heading off into the sordid clubs of Soho. I'm not talking about the X-rated ones, but the ones where the 20 odd somethings of London go to.
Yeah, well,
fair credit to you. Good staying power.
I think I must say I didn't feel so bad on Saturday or Sunday. It was yesterday that finally caught up with me, but I had to give my youngest an education in a football away trip. So I didn't want to let the side down.
And what a trip it was! Just before we get going, anyway. Hi to Ruth, my sister. 50 yesterday, the big 5-0. I know you're not supposed to say a lady's name on you, but she's not a lady, so I'll get away with it. So happy birthday, Ruth! Anyway. And so Nick, what a weekend it was in general, wasn't it? We were all down there in various pockets of London. Yeah, it was like similar to Tim. I was feeling it yesterday at work. I wish I'd thought to book the day off. We were there just on 10 o'clock on Friday morning. Didn't go straight to the pub. We went around Camden for an hour first. Soaked in a bit of culture first, did you? Yeah, I went around the Camden Market till about 12 o'clock, and then the inevitable happened, done it, and we went to the pub. To be fair, we were very steady throughout the day, but then just carried on right through the night till I can't remember what time it was. So I was feeling a bit tired on Saturday morning, and wondering how it was going to go when we got on the boat, but thankfully everything was okay. You carry on drinking, don't you, and get through it. We're speaking like we're having a day at work, aren't we? Like the timed drinking and the planning behind it. Did you have any of that Camden Ale, by the way, that I recommended? I'd lots of brilliant. Yeah, lots of nice, Camden Ale. Yeah. Not the cheapest pint ever, but that's London for you, isn't it? Mitch, we'll come to you shortly, because you've obviously got a far more interesting and exciting weekend to regale the viewers and the listeners with, haven't you? Do you want just to very briefly surmise what you were doing while we were having the one of the best away days ever?
While you were wasting your time on football, I went to Wickes, bought some snap fit plumbing stuff, and replumbed the sink in my kitchen. So I think we know who the real winner is here.
Your missus.
She was just moaning because she couldn't use the sink. So yeah. So I'm gutted, to be honest, because I couldn't go. But on the Tuesday or the Wednesday or whenever it was, I thought, yeah, I might just go anyway, even though it was virtually physically impossible for me to go. And then the tickets had sold out, and then I thought, oh well, I wouldn't. And then when all the tickets come up on Twitter and people are going, I've got, and I was thought, oh I might, and then I am pretty gutted because it did look outstanding. So I'll just shut up while you tell the story of the weekend.
Evening, Craig. I met Craig on the. Was it Craig who I met in the the beer queue at half time. It was good to see a lot of meeting a lot of new faces, a lot of people saying hello. Tim at Fulham, wasn't it? It's very good to see, and I always enjoy it when people come and say hello and say how good it is. It makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there was a real party vibe about the whole weekend, really, wasn't there? And for those on the pod who weren't aware, obviously there was 2 boats out on the Thames. Piracy on the high seas. There was the muckers, and
it was great when the boats met, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who are you? Who are you?
It was really good. It was really good. I mean, obviously we were on Ashley's boat, which is obviously a lot bigger than the muckers boat and more powerful, and I was able to get up and down the Thames far quicker. But no, it was just great to have 2 boats out there and everybody having such a great time. And we managed to raise a few quid for Trinity Hospice and was it Brown House, the other one as well?
Yeah.
So Ashley put his profits towards charitable causes as well, which was great to see. And and there's a lot of bemused tourists on the banks and bridges of the Thames,
on the bridges,
videoing us all, and we there's a few expletives heading directed towards the Houses of Parliament as we went past as well, being the good anti-establishment people that we are. So they got a few views. So it was listening. It was fantastic. It was pity we couldn't get off at the jetty at Fulham, but unfortunately the elitist boat race got in the way of that one. Well, the practice for it anyway. So the Oxford Cambridge boat race took priority to the muckers and Ashley's boats, which I find it's a very sad indictment of our society that the whole river closes for these things. But anyway, it is what it was, and it didn't spoil the day at all. So it was fantastic.
I mean, big up to Ashley for organising it all. I know we went through a lot of stress and trouble to get it on, and the day just the day before the game it went off perfectly. And what a great gesture, Nick, at the end for him to donate the profits made to the Trinity Hospice and Brian House. So yeah, well done, Ashley.
Yeah, like you say, there was a lot of organising, wasn't there? And people having to drop out for various reasons and tickets becoming available and sorting all that out at the last minute. And I mean, it's hard enough doing a coach, isn't it? Let alone a boat. And fair play to him, and a great gesture with the profits as well.
Well, yeah, so we all disembarked at, was it Westminster?
Westminster Pier, yeah.
Westminster Pier, and made our way onto the tubes. And then, Tim, it was, I always enjoy tubes when there's loads of Blackpool fans, and everyone, I think we were lagging behind us, so I was running to catch up everyone. And it wasn't as raucous as I expected, actually, on the tube itself.
I think the lot who went straight off the boat, we were sort of, like you say, we were hanging back, and so we were probably, we only got the ground, didn't we? About 10 to 5 to 3. So, but yeah, it was fantastic, and obviously the position of where Fulham's ground is quite good. Obviously, at the moment they're redeveloping one side, which the side that overhangs the river, with their rooftop pools and God knows what else they're having. But yeah, I mean, putting aside clapsticks and the like, which I can't for the life of me understand why anybody does that. Oh, I mean, it wasn't just one or two of them, was it? It was like they were all at it. I've got to say, I did. You managed to nick one, did you? It's got a bit of character to the ground, which I did quite like. Obviously, you've got your old sort of brick facade side, haven't you, as well as this like new modern stand that's been built. And there was a decent crowd there. There must have been, I think it was 18,000, 19,000, if I remember rightly. So the three sides that were open were all full. And as we're no doubt going to go on to discuss the support that we gave the lads, I thought on Saturdays, it's pretty much as good as I can remember. I think it was hence the lack of vocal cords that we all had yesterday. It was I must say, so there was that gap. There was it was obviously some like Spanish. I think I got the impression it was like from Chile or somewhere. Who was a Spanish tourist going to Fulham and speaking in I think it was, I'm assuming it was Spanish anyway. And he started off watching the game and videoing the game, and then gave up and just plonked his camera on Blackpool fans because I don't think he could even hear himself speak. And I think it was, it was indicative of the way we went on, that when Fulham take an early lead, the home fans are out sung by Blackpool fans who immediately start up with a huge chorus of LA, LA, LA. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant on all sorts of levels. The way that the Blackpool fans got behind the weekend, the team, the performance, and just the whole occasion, really.
The only thing that I think it's got to be right up there with one of my favourite ever away days, the whole day and the weekend. There was one incident that kind of irked Mitch. You'll resonate with this. There was some kettling going on under the stands, trying to I don't know if Nick, if you saw it at all, when they were forcing you to show your ticket even though you'd got in the ground, and there was a mass build up of fans just trying to get up that one entrance into the stand. It was absolutely ridiculous, causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because, I mean, previously it was a kind of shared stand, that wasn't it? It was mixed, and obviously when you're in that concourse, but you are mixed in with home fans, but there was no trouble at all, and people obviously wanted to get into the seats. But they were doing it even. I went to the loo during the second half. So the guys watched me walk past him, go to the loo, come back a minute later and say, "Have you got a ticket?" And I was like, well, where do you think you've just watched me come down the step, not just jumped over the fence to get in.
Sometimes you just discard your ticket anyway, don't you? Once you're in your seat, I occasionally do it.
And I mean, they were all friendly enough, generally speaking. But yeah, that was it did seem a bit over the top. But when we got in, it looked oversold almost that away, and it was absolutely packed. And the row we were on was kind of the main way through to the next block of the away end. So there was just a stream of people coming through our row for a good 10 or 15 minutes after the game started. And then they eventually kind of netted that off again. So yeah, I don't know. It was absolutely packed though, that away end. It was, and like Tim said, just fantastic support from the first minute to the last.
Yeah. What a day anyway, what a day. Right, Mitch, we won't bore you anymore with or annoy you with how great the away day was.
I'm just disappointed, John, because I thought what we were going to get was some kind of artistic analysis of whatever it was that you were looking at in that gallery on Twitter. I'm quite surprised by these tales of debauchery because it actually looked more like a cultural journey that you'd been on.
Well, we had to have our middle class day out, but that was Sunday. That was Sunday.
That's coming after the match.
The God-fearing people that we are, we thought we'd get some brownie points in with him upstairs and do some good things. And yeah, the Tate Modern was different, Tim, shall we say. I mean, we actually only went in there to go to the viewing gallery right at the top, and it was bloody shut. So we had to pretend we were interested in some of the fairs on offer. But yeah, it was a bit weird, wasn't it?
John did find the one and only exhibit that seemed to have breasts on show, which was
pure coincidence.
It was pure coincidence, I'm sure.
Right, onto the game itself then. Let's get the team sheet up, if my voice will allow me. There it is. Different view. So, the match day 11... change of formation, 5-3-2, 3-5-2, however you want to call it. Grimshaw, Gabriel, Ekpiteta, Keogh, Thornley, Sterling, Dougal, Conley, Bowler, Hamilton, Lavery on the bench, Moore, Casey, Robson, Dale, Kirk, Yates, Medine. Tim, I'll start with you because we were having a very similar conversation when we met under the stands, as the unfortunate events in the game meant the first half had to be paused for quite a while, and we were very, very scathing about this, the way we'd set up and started the game.
It appeared, and most certainly for the first 12 minutes was highly defensive, and the immediate concern was, and this isn't with the benefit of hindsight of any stretch of the imagination, because I think I was almost raging. I was most certainly very. I was pecking your head, wasn't it, about it?
I think we were all saying the same. To be fair, it wasn't just you, Tim. I think there were a lot of people saying the same thing.
Yeah, it was. It just looked like we'd come to park the bus, and the concern was when you were going to play Fulham that you can't do that. They've got too much in the locker. So it was a little bit. I think the biggest surprise when you saw the team was Thornley coming in, and the immediate thoughts were, we're just going to extra defender. We're going to play one up top, and it won't work. That was my immediate thoughts, and it sounds like it wasn't. I wasn't the only one. And
Nick, over to you then. So the fact that we've these games, the ones that spring to mind were the Middlesbrough game and Huddersfield, and there was another one to some extent where we've not dominated the game, but we've been on the front foot and we've been ahead in games and we've gone defensive and it hasn't worked and it's been terrible. This was kind of a reenactment of that tactic before the game had even started. Were those your thoughts?
Yeah, similar to yourself and Tim. I just thought we're going to be in potentially for a long afternoon here. You know, they score 5-6 goals nearly every other week, and you just wonder, could we last 90 minutes without conceding? And if we did, how are we going to get back into the game? And then when it starts, and that was looking like it was going to be the case, we couldn't get near them. They had all the possession. You know, they go 1-0 up, and you're just thinking it's probably going to be damage limitation for the rest of the game. But as we'll come on to talk about that, you know, that wasn't the case after the restart. But yeah, when I saw the lineup, I did think we were going to be in for a tough 90 minutes.
Mitch, when your arse was hanging over your jeans were hanging over your arse crack, and you were fumbling under the kitchen sink with your snap block new U-bend joints. Did you have a quick look at your phone and see the lineup and penny for your thoughts if you did?
Well, I actually made it to a non-EU territory where the game wasn't being shown on Sky, so I managed to actually watch it, which was good. Quite how I made it there, but couldn't make it to Fulham. We'll have to just wonder. But no, I just thought everything that you've already said, and I just thought there really two things. With one, I just couldn't see how we were going to get out. I couldn't see how we were going. You're always going to come up against pressure against Fulham, but how the hell do you get out? Lavery's a little lad. He's perfectly good. But on his own, you're not going to be able to hit it long at him. And we've got sort of two players who can run on the wings, but no creativity in midfield. And it really brought it to mind the Derby game where we set up kind of quite similarly against a much inferior opposition. And in that game, I think we had Keshi and Carey both playing in midfield. So we had an arguably much more creative midfield against a much more inferior opposition. And we couldn't get out against Derby, they pinned us back. So I just thought that I really, really didn't like the lineup. And as has been said, it was kind of borne out for a while.
So Tim, as the game's kicked off, they've got like a corner after like 30 seconds or something ridiculous, and the first, before the goal itself, you just knew it was coming, didn't you? It was wave after wave after of pressure and possession. Couldn't get the ball off them.
Yeah, and the big problem, and obviously we'll go on to discuss what was changed to completely turn the game on its head. Was we were sitting off as well. From what I recall I've not actually watched it back properly. I watched a few minutes just before we came on, both from the beginning bit and a little bit later, just to sort of get a little bit of a flavour for the way we our shape. And for me, it was, we seemed to have 9 at the back all the time. So and quite often 10. And so when you've got everybody behind the ball, it just, you're just inviting trouble, and when the trouble came, it was, they just carved us open and probably scored one of the easiest goals they've scored this season. Which was very, very disappointing from our perspective. So early on in the game, I think it was about 6 minutes or something like that, if I remember rightly. I can't remember the exact time. But it was just, I just thought then we're going to get battered here about 6-0, because we were just, we were sitting so deep, and they must have had about 85-90% possession in that first 12 minutes. And it just didn't all go well at all, did it?
Yeah, there was one point they brought the stats up on the stream I was watching. I think it was 82% to 18 in terms of possession, which is just about as dominant as you're ever going to see.
So, Mitch, your thoughts on the goal? It's just an unbelievable passage of play on the left-hand side, and they just ran was it Gabriel ragged and simple tapping for Mitrovic, but it was the pure build-up that's just undone us. Quality.
Yeah, and I think there were two things really. I to be honest, the goal just, as much as you can feel, it can feel inevitable after 5 minutes. It really did, and that showed how dominant they'd been. That after sort of 6 minutes or whatever it was, I wasn't even surprised. Normally with a goal after 6 minutes, it feels like a really early goal. And the two things I noticed about them, that they seem to be able to sort of knock the ball in any direction. When the midfielders got it, you didn't know where it was going. When we got it, it was so predictable. And I think we I can't remember if we did for the goal, but we invited a lot of pressure on ourselves early, because not only did we stand off them, but we tried to play out from the back, but in a very sluggish, predictable way. And I can't remember if we did or not for the goal, but we got caught in that corner several times.
Couldn't deal with the press, could we?
No, we couldn't. And their press just seemed so much better than our press as well. They seemed to be sort of really in our faces, hovering around everywhere we got, and we'd get the ball and then make 2 or 3 quite predictable passes, and then it'd start again. And yeah, the goal was just simple, easy, and it just seemed, even after 5 minutes, it just seemed absolutely inevitable. I've made some kind of joke about, well, it's only going to be 18-0 now because it's, one every 5 minutes. It just felt like that was the pattern for the game, was settled, already.
Tim, over to you. They went what was it? 8 minutes. What was his name? Harry Wilson. That little lob just went wide, and the right was on the wall, wasn't it? It was real backs to the wall stuff, and
yeah,
I thought we were going to be 3 or 4-0 down at half time.
It was like the Alamo, wasn't it? It was a question of how much and how embarrassing the scoreline would ultimately end up, and in very tragic circumstances, as we later found out. Blackpool got a 40-minute break or thereabouts, which allowed us to reassess what we were doing and how the hell we were going to change it. But I mean, it's to have the scenario that happened. For those who aren't aware, obviously, a Fulham fan tragically lost his life after having a heart attack, and the Blackpool medical team and the Fulham medical team went across to assist, and therefore the game was stopped. And after the players had hung around on the pitch for 5 minutes, the referee decided to take them back to the changing room, which obviously allowed for a complete reassessment as to the way that we played. And so, unfortunately, I think there was a suggestion it was that there might be some positive news at half time on whatever, but unfortunately, the gentleman lost his life when in hospital. So, I got the impression he's a lifelong Fulham fan. I've seen quite a few pictures of him on Twitter and whatever. His daughter's obviously a Fulham fan as well, and posted her thanks for the way that everybody helped and the respect that Blackpool fans and Fulham fans showed towards her father. But yeah, you don't go to a football game expecting to not come home, do you?
No.
So R.I.P. Paul has just been put up there.
Yeah, so, Nick, I suppose one sort of small crumb of comfort for his daughter, don't you? If you read the thread, he's Paul Parrish. He sounded like a massive football fan, but a lover of Fulham for most of his adult life and when he was a child. But if you're going to go anywhere, we were saying this in the Milton, weren't we? After you want to go at Bloomfield Road, don't you? And you want to go to you'd want to go at the place where you're happiest most in your life and where you've spent most of your life. So that's a small crumb of comfort, I guess, but it's extremely sad nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we saw that, Tim. So you see the medical team running over, and there's just kind of a quiet hush around the ground, wasn't there, whilst it was going on, and you just hoping and praying whoever it is are going to pull through. And tragically, you know, it wasn't the case. And as you've said, RIP to Paul, and you know, thoughts are with his family and friends.
RIP, rest in peace, Paul. Okay, so Mitch, there was obviously the big lull in play, and it kind of did Blackpool a favour, didn't it? Because we came out and we didn't change formation or personnel per se, but we were playing a bit higher up the pitch, I thought, and we weren't as defensive and as deep. And I think that's done us a favour, hasn't it? And Critch even admitted in his post-match it was his fault. So, Penny, for your thoughts for what you think he might have said to them during that interval, and how he was going to stop this constant wave of Fulham attacks.
Well, I think it's as simple as get further up the pitch. He was waving up the two wide players because they were getting sucked in, and we had sort of, as I felt before the game, we had no way out because we just had Lavery on his own, completely isolated. So he was very clearly, when we came out, Bowler and CJ were staying up the pitch, which simply gave them a little bit more to worry about. You know, it's three players to worry about instead of one, which then gave us a little bit more options when we were trying to play out from the back, rather than sort of getting halfway into our own half and there just being no ball on. There was sometimes a ball on, but I've got to be honest, I still think we were really up against it in most of the rest of that first half. I don't know what it felt like at the ground, but I still felt that, to be honest, up until about 55 minutes even, we were up against it. It wasn't as constant, it wasn't as intense as the first few minutes, but I mean, they still produced. I mean, they hit the post. Grimshaw made that amazing save towards the end. They came out second half and they had I can't remember if they hit the post again or they had another really good stop. I think they might have hit the woodwork 3 times. They certainly did twice. And I think we were better after the restart, but I don't think we really properly came into the game until about 55 minutes in an hour. But what was remarkable was after that, we really were pretty good. But in answer to your question, I think it was just keeping the wingers up.
So Tim, we've come back a bit more in the game in the second half. Connolly's had a decent free kick that the goalie's parried wide. Josh Bowler went on that brilliant run, slotted in by Lavery, smashed it against the bar. So the tide was turning, wasn't it? In the sort of
and just, I think it was a point you made. I think just everybody was playing higher up the pitch. So rather than playing this very, very defensive, almost 7 defenders, we end up with the 2 wing backs playing where they should be playing as wing backs, which is further up the pitch. There was 3 at the back rather than 5 at the back, and with CJ and Bowler pushed up, we effectively had a little Christmas tree top of the team formation. That meant that there was 2, a lot more difficult to pick up, a lot more fluid, and Connolly and Dougal could in that formation, I think, play the way that suits their game as well, rather than when they're forced into a 4-4-2. It doesn't really suit them because, as we've discussed this on however many pods now, one of them has to push forward, and neither of them are particularly good at it. So I felt that the way we were playing meant that we had the 2 wing backs able to push on. We had these 2 almost free rolls behind Lavery, and Dougal and Connolly could just sit in there and hopefully, and have an influence on the game and support the defence. So we looked good. It looked a good system, and it looked, Critchley earned his corn there because, whether it's him or whether it's part of his team that came up with the changes, it was the same personnel who looked unbelievably shocking in the first 12 minutes. All of a sudden, albeit I think Mitch is right. I think we sort of came into the game and probably ended up as at least on par with them, if not slightly the better team towards the end. But we improved continually as the game went on, and everybody looked like they had a little bit more swagger about them, which was great to see. And and the samba band was going in the corner, figuratively, of the Blackpool fans. The team were playing to the beat of LA, and it was fantastic.
We've all got the voices to prove to back up what you're saying there, Tim. I'm still not recovered. Nick, Jordan Thornley, very assured on his return to the team. Could have had a freak own goal when it's just he's got his head on a cross and it's squirmed to the post.
Yeah.
I don't know where I thought that was going in, but it'd have been very unlucky and it'd been harsh on Blackpool had that gone in. But Grimshaw alert as ever on the rebound. Yeah,
it was a hell of a header, wasn't it? Yeah, and it would have been unfortunate because when you think obviously he's been playing football, in League One, but it's a hell of a baptism of fire, isn't it, to be stepping back into the team at Championship level?
It doesn't come in any tougher, does it? Than that?
No, away at Fulham, and after the start, he's probably thinking this is going to be a tough afternoon. But I thought he did really, really well, and it's only one game, but if he can go and do that against probably the best side in the division, you wonder now whether he's going to get a run back in the side and feature again after we probably all thought we'd seen the last of him in a Blackpool shirt, if we're honest.
Mitch, over to you. Just want to quickly discuss the referee in the first half, whether it was any different in your non-EU country where you're obviously watching the game, because we were discussing at half-time, Tim and I, that he was a real home of this referee, and he's booked Dougal on 38 minutes and for a high boot. A lot of the Fulham fans were saying he should have been sent off, but he was making call after call after call for Fulham, and the Blackpool fans gave that famous chant, "You're not fit to referee." How was it for you watching it on a TV in Switzerland, the referee's performance? Because we thought he changed after that. After we gave him a load of shit, he kind of became an away ref in the second half.
I think it's always more emotive when you're at the game, and I don't remember raging at the referee per se, but it just felt like part of their dominance, if that made sense. It just felt like the referee was another thing that was against us, and I think it's always a bit more visceral when you're at the game. You tend to get you tend to feel it more rawly when you're at the game. The Dougal one, obviously I saw a few replays and stuff, and it was his foot was high, but it wasn't malicious. It wasn't like he'd gone in to clean the guy out. He'd just sort of gone in for a ball, and it certainly didn't seem like a red card. But yeah, I mean, I suppose I perceived it pretty much like I've said before, whereas, everything seemed against us for the majority of the first half, bar those couple of chances we got, which were very much against the run of play, including the referee. And as the game turned and as we got on top, then it just seemed like we started to get more decisions. We started to get more the ball ran for us a bit more. And yeah, I mean, the main thing about watching it on the EU, non-EU stream was the commentator was like off the Fast Show, sort of FFFF Chris Waddle. And at one point he went FFFF Gara Medine. And I really wished I'd been recording the stream so that I could have just had a little thing of that. That was the main thing I took from it.
Wonder what he was saying.
Well, I don't know.
What he was saying.
Because Gaz wasn't even on the pitch, so... He was probably saying, well, why is Gary Medine not playing? Because he's a goal machine and, this is why Blackpool against it. But
probably he was obviously saying that, wasn't he? So why is Medine not playing?
Almost certainly.
It's interesting, Tim. A lot of people in the comments are saying the ref was okay in the first half. So David's saying that. Steve just said that. David Reddy said, agree, Mitch. Thought the ref was okay. I was also watching in Switzerland.
Yeah,
I saw Dave. Yeah,
and interesting. I had a quick look on the Fulham forum on Sunday evening when I got in, and they were berating the ref for being very poor and giving them no decisions. So sometimes it is all about perception. I think probably Mitch's point is right. When Fulham had their 85% possession, we're always going to be the ones conceding the fouls, aren't we? And as we start to come back in the game, as we start having a go at them and closing them down and nicking the ball off them, then it's more likely that they're going to be the ones, leaning in, tripping, whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, I just remember in the first half thinking we're going to get nothing off this referee, and but that's again, you're there in the zone, aren't you? And you probably see things in a slightly more tangerine spectacled manner than you might otherwise do.
I think alcohol consumption sort of affects things as well. I think you become more partisan, don't you?
We'd only had 2 before the game, though, hadn't we?
It's funny though, John, because we did say the same as you, that after there was that chant of, you don't know what you're doing or you're not fit to referee, it did seem like we started to get a few decisions. And normally the home crowd are quite partisan, aren't they? And loud and can influence a ref. And don't think you really got that so much with the Fulham crowd. It was just the away fans. So it did seem like after that moment, things started to change. But like Mitch says, the reality is it's probably just us coming back into the game a bit more as it went on.
We do joke, but they are the most middle class football set of supporters I've ever seen. They had clapsticks. There was a jazz band outside.
Half and half scarves.
I saw
and
those.
There was people wearing them as well in the section next to us. I think you probably get a lot of tourists.
You get a lot of football tourists at Fulham, don't you? Because they know they can get in. And they used to have a section for them, didn't they? But, I mean, but when you were looking around the ground, you could just see all that around the ground, couldn't you? It wasn't even, and it was like the young kids were doing it. I'm thinking, I'm not sorry. I was saying not really young kids. I'm talking about like the teenagers and the early 20s. They're doing it. I'm thinking, can you imagine like the young muckers with clapsticks? It was just like.
My nephew said to me, when the obviously there was no fans in the ground because of lockdowns. He said, those stadiums where they have cardboard cutout fans in there, and he said that the Fulham fans are just like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's
all very nice. They're not offensive with it. But it's just I see all these clapsticks going around the ground. And I'm just thinking like you'd get the rip taken out of you, wouldn't you, if you tried to turn up at a Blackpool match with one of those and start tapping away with it. But,
we were saying at the beginning, it was like, because we couldn't really see what they were to start with. And they had some like strange operatic music as the players were coming out. And they're all like waving. It looked like they were waving white handkerchiefs around, didn't it, in time with the music.
Getting all Real Madrid.
Yeah. So. They do that to get rid of their president, don't they, when they're unhappy? They all get the white hankies out.
Yeah, the white hankies, yeah. Well, they do it with the team as well, don't they, if they're not happy with the performance. But I think it's from the old bullring days, isn't it, from for the Spanish? I think that was the way of showing the displeasure in the bullring originally.
Just before we talk about the second half, I want to discuss the double save, Nick, from Grimmy. That fine piece of skill from Harry Wilson, if you recall.
Yeah.
He's got the shot away, but Grimshaw, that double save he made, I mean, the game's over, isn't it, if we're going down 2-0, and he's absolutely kept us in the game there with 2 wonderful saves.
Yeah, like you say, at that point, if they get another, you're thinking, that's it, game over. And as he seems to be doing in every game, he's pulling off an absolute, at least
it's a worldier game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's keeping us in it. And I know last time, Chris Maxwell came back into the side, but you've got to think that as every game goes by, he's just doing more and more to nail down the spot as his own. And I can't see, unless Grimshaw picks up an injury when Maxwell's fit, that he's going to be getting back in anytime soon when he is fit, because he's not really putting a foot wrong for me. I know we came under pressure quite a bit on Saturday, but he's not making mistakes. And when he's called on, he's stepping up to the plate and pulling off saves that you just think, where's that come from? He had no right to get there. And like I say, I think it's his place to lose, really, for me.
Well, having the benefit of replays, that second save and the double save was incredible because he actually starts moving to make the save before it drops. I can't remember who it dropped to. It dropped to one of their forwards who kind of hit it on either the volley or the half volley. And he's moving before the ball has dropped for their forward to kick it because he's anticipated exactly what he's going to do. And it wasn't necessarily spectacular, but that movement and that awareness was frankly like top class, like really, really top class. And I was number one in the Chris Maxwell must get back in goals club, and there's no chance that Grimshaw should lose the shirt now. No chance.
Tim, do you concur with that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back, and I'm not pretending to be prophetic by any stretch of the imagination, because I've got a City fan, and he just said they really, really rate Grimshaw at City. And
I actually remember you saying that, and I was like,
yeah,
no,
he was in the same team. Foden was in,
and going to play. Yeah, I remember saying that.
Yeah, and we weren't, were we? And I was thinking, well, yeah, but he's not going to get a go, but I think he's so assured now, and I think we're very fortunate. We've got two of the best keepers in the division, and I think whichever of them plays, they're going to do a fantastic job. But I just genuinely don't think Critchley could drop Grimshaw at the moment. It would only be an injury or a catastrophic run of poor games that would see him lose that shirt.
Well done, Grummy. Right, Nick, on to the second half. Cavalios hit the post 3 minutes in. I watched the extended highlights when I got in. I was like, I don't remember that. And that's because I was under the concourse queuing up for my pint when it eventually got served. And fucking hell, Tim, I've just remembered you with your Fulham app really pissed me off. Just tell everyone how he knew about this. Really, really annoyed me. Go on.
Every time I went down, I was able to procure a beer very quickly. And so John would come down and then he'd see there's a massive queue, and I'd always had a fresh pint in my hand. So he says, "How are you doing this?" And I said, "Have you not got the Fulham app?" So I thought, so anyway, so I had him going all game. Fulham app, you can order your beer and they bring it to you. And I think I even had people saying, "No, just when he goes to the loo, bring me another beer over." So I definitely had him over. He was believing it all the way.
Did you try to download it?
Yeah, he was. Can I get it? Well, I can't find it. Fulham app.
He was saying you get it delivered to exactly where I was like, well, how? GPS it's not pinpoint accurate. But I believed him. I believed every word.
And there's me going, well, it's accurate enough to find me with giving me the beer.
Hook, line, and sinker. So yeah, I did a Smith, Nick, on the Carvalho chance. Were you actually in the stands by the time?
I think I was just arguing with the steward about trying to get back in, having to produce me match ticket for the fourth time. But yeah, I mean, he's some player, isn't he? Did he end up moving?
I don't think he did. Did he go to Liverpool in the end?
He's gone and they've loaned him back.
Did
that actually happen? I think it did happen in the end, didn't it? Right at the last minute.
Not sure. I know there was talk of it, but yeah, he's a class player, isn't he? And watch the highlight and great one with the ball. And thankfully for us, it hit the post and went away. And then, I think after that's when we really started to come into the game. After that,
Mitch, over to you. You said Blackpool. The tide turned. The metaphorical tide turned on 50-odd minutes. You said earlier, didn't you? And I kind of know what you're saying. And this has culminated with the Josh Bowler equaliser. Obviously, it was pandemonium in the away end when that went in. Talk us through the goal. Obviously, CJ Hamilton had a big part to play in it.
Yeah, and CJ on the left. And what was nice to see was again, like in the last game with CJ providing and not just sort of mindlessly barreling into the box and losing the ball. And it was just really quite straightforward. We worked the ball out to CJ, had a bit of space, he moved into it and just slid a very simple ball across for where Bowler had cut inside sort of unnoticed and just hammered it home with a really nice finish. And again, I think like Bowler, I think I said a couple of weeks, it's nice to see Bowler doing some of the simple things, and it's been nice since CJ's come back in and playing on the left that probably Hartlepool game aside, his delivery has been pretty good actually, and he's just been doing those very simple things, because he always had the same problem as Bowler, as belting away at 100 miles an hour and then passing it behind everybody or spooning it out into the stand. But that it was really nice to see, and again, nice with Bowler, just nice simple finish, drilled home, lovely goal, plastic plumbing pipes going everywhere.
Talk us what it was like. It was like in the end, but the goal itself. One thing I would just want to point out was CJ's first touch was brilliant, because he knows he's got that straight line pace to put the ball quite far in front of him, and he's going to get there. So that was a great first touch initially.
Well, it was also, I think it was also a great example of that high press from those three, because I think CJ actually intercepted a ball across the Fulham back line, actually, didn't he? And
he did.
And he took a great first touch. And the obvious ball was probably to Lavery, who went towards the far post. And I think Headless Chicken CJ would have tried to find him in some shape or form, or taken a shot of himself. But he saw Bowler coming in on the blind side, and just it wasn't quite. It was a bit less than square, wasn't it? It was sort of like slightly back on himself. Bowler could just run onto it, hit it first time, and sort of wrong-footed the keeper by doing it, because I think he had a couple of Fulham defenders around him, Bowler, didn't he? So the keeper was probably slightly unsighted. And cue pandemonium in the left-hand side of that stand, because to say that everybody went mental is an understatement, wasn't it? And it was just brilliant, because I think we all expected, at the end of the day, we all expected to get drilled, didn't we? And we've just come back into this game, and it just at that point I was thinking, well, I don't actually care what happens from here on in, because we've come here and we've scored, and it's been fantastic, but we just got, from that point onwards, we just got better and better and better, and the support got louder and louder and louder. So it was really, really pleasing to watch, because so many times in the past we've gone away from home and capitulated, and particularly when we've had a decent support, we've not quite lived up. It's been like after the Lord's Mayor showing that you have a great beers beforehand, then turn up and watch the crappiest game you've ever watched. And we actually saw a decent game, a decent performance, and against a very, very good team that we're playing against. So on a number of levels, it was really, really pleasing. But that goal was just it'll live long in the memory, that one.
The words, you're taking the words out of my mouth there, Nick. I was actually stood on the concourse area. I just couldn't get back to my seats because it was that packed. I think we were quite near the front, and it was just brilliant. It was like the old days when you stood on the terrace. You're just grabbing random people, aren't you? Hugging people you don't know.
Well, we were hugging CJ Hamilton's sister, who was stood with us. So she was just right in front of us, and we noticed every time he got the ball, she was really animated. And Andy, one of the lads, said, "Oh, kind of your relation." She said, "Yeah, it's my brother." And when he got the ball and set the goal up, we were just, she was going crazy, we were going crazy. It was like you say, it's like the old days. You're all packed into a terrace rather than being in a stand, and people going flying, hugging strangers, and like you, Tim. I just thought, whatever happened, that caps the weekend really. Now, It's been a brilliant weekend, and we've got something out of it. Whatever happens, you've got that moment, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Just reminds me, you mentioned CJ Hamilton's sister. Keshi was in the stand just across from us, with his white tracky hoodie up, so that he was a look, so he's at least a little bit inconspicuous. But he was he was tapping away to the beat as well. So it was great to see that, he's I don't know where he's from originally, Keshe, whether he's from London, but he was clearly with some friends and seemed to be having a great time himself. So it was good to see.
So Mitch, on the subject of CJ, it's one other thing I just want to quickly add, and before we move on, he was giving the eyes like he was going to cross it to the 6-yard box, but then just pulled it back. That's something else I want to point out. But CJ himself, he's obviously got the bit between his teeth, and he's almost won the game for us. Perhaps should have crossed the ball if that chance. If you remember, I think it was 80 minutes when he's gone near post.
Yeah,
keeps always saving that. Yeah, keeps always saving that, isn't he? And a little square pass noticed in the highlights to Connolly, and he's knocking it in from 6 yards. So to be very nitpicky.
Well, it's same with the bowler effort earlier where he cracked against the bar. I mean, they were both good efforts, but in the bowler effort, Lavery was in acres of space, and really, if you're being critical, bowler should have pulled it back to Lavery. CJ should have pulled it back. Was it Connolly? I can't remember, but
Connolly
there was somebody anyway. There was somebody free. But at the same time, I was quite glad that he'd had one of those. He had that when he was good for us for that first 3 or 4 months. He had that sort of exocet shot where he'd absolutely belt one and from an acute angle, and it would fly in. And he seemed to, since he came back from injury, seemed to have become very tentative. He'd sort of prod at things, and I was actually quite pleased to see him just absolutely belt one, because that was one of his real strengths. And I wouldn't be too critical of him. I mean, if he'd have spooned it miles over like he did against West Brom, or just sort of not really, he looked a bit half-hearted since he came back. I don't mean he wasn't trying, but like caught between ideas, like he didn't really know what to do. And I'm always happy to see a player, be decisive, hit the shot, hit it hard, hit the target, and he did that. So I wouldn't be too critical of him.
Can I be critical? Because I had 50 quid on at 10-1.
Blackburn let me down for 550 quid as well in my 5-match accumulator. Correctly predicted Blackpool Fulham draw 9-2. Fucking hell, Diaz. If only he'd have played. But Tim. So last 15 minutes of the game, I think 4 minutes went up on the board. I was worried a bit, but I wasn't as worried as I should be in that situation. And I thought we contained them very well in that second half. And I can't really, apart from when they hit the post, they did not dominate. Grimmy's not really had a save to make, so it was all a bit too easy, wasn't it?
I don't think is it right? They didn't have a shot on target in the second half. I think you said that on the drive home.
Oh yeah, you said he hit the post, and I said off target shot.
That's off target, yeah. So, but yeah, we've had a couple of home games, haven't we, where we've been literally cacking ourselves that we're going to concede. I think, although I wasn't there because I was away on holiday, Blackburn was one of those. There was another game as well where I think we held on. I can't remember now whether it was Hull. It was one of the 1-0ers.
Hull, yeah.
And we didn't look like that. We looked quite assured, I thought. And if anything, probably the team most likely to take the points, which, again, is good to see. And we didn't at the end, but I think, it's a performance that the team and the management and the whole club can be very, very proud of, because there won't be many teams who take 4 points off Fulham this year, that's for certain.
Well, I think what says how well we played, obviously I wasn't there, so maybe wasn't as emotionally caught up in the goal. And I thought, obviously we scored and I jumped off the couch and all that. And then I thought, basically my response was, oh shit, we're going to make them angry now. I kind of thought like, right, they're going to tear us to bits now we've scored. And then they never did. And sort of, it was like you say, that never came. And by the end of the game, I was feeling almost slightly disappointed that we hadn't nicked it, which was, testament to how we turned it round.
Nick, your closing thoughts as the game ended. Were you? I know exactly what Mitch is saying there. I was thinking if someone's going to score the winner, it's going to be us.
It did look like us, yeah. But then in the back of your mind, you're also thinking, they've got so much talent on the pitch. Are they just going to have that chance and it'll be 94th minute heartbreak? But No, it certainly wasn't. Like Tim said, it has been in games where we're just sat back inviting pressure, and you're thinking the inevitable is going to happen. We were pretty comfortable, really, and like you say, if anything, perhaps could have got something again on the break. Looking more likely. So you've got to say fair play to them when you think where we were away from home. They've got such a good record. You're expecting backs to the wall for that last 5 minutes, but it didn't prove to be. We were pretty comfortable, which you've got to say credit to the players. Fantastic performance.
Which nicely segues on to our player ratings section of the show. This should be interesting. Some very, very high ratings, I would imagine, in this area. Right, let's start with you, Mitch. Dan Grimshaw goes from strength to strength to strength.
Yeah, he did. He played very well. I'm going to give him. I'm going to go 9+ because I just thought early on his use of the ball was perhaps a little naive. He was playing us into trouble with the way he was playing out, but his actual goalkeeping was excellent. I'm going to go 9+.
Sounds like someone had cut the string of a acoustic guitar. Then
I was actually looking around for my guitar then, thinking,
well, somebody's settee spring's gone or something.
So when the FPRS system is used, we'll hear the twang. Who are we on now? Gabriel, Tim.
Yeah, I'm becoming a big fan of Jordan's. I think he, particularly after we had the reorganisation, and he was able to do what comes naturally to him, which is play that wing back role. I thought he did really well. Bit unlucky. I think he had just before Bowler scored. I think he had a shot, didn't he, that was just parried away for the corner. And just generally, I think Blackpool fans get him, and he gets Blackpool, which is great to see. I'm going to go for a 9-. I think he's he's a little bit better than an 8+, and but maybe not quite a 9 for this one.
He was run a bit ragged, wasn't he, in the first 15 minutes? So I know what you mean. Nick, Big Marv, bit exposed to the press, but grew into the game. Yeah,
he was, but we've gone away from home and got a 1-1 at Fulham. So I think as a defensive unit, they've all done really, really well. And again, as the game went on, I thought he got better and better. So I'll do a fielding rating system and do an 8+.
Tricky Dicky, Mitch.
Yeah. I'm going to go 9 with Keogh. I thought it was. I think it just shows what an intelligent player is that against a side as mobile and quick and really hard to defend against as Fulham, it was actually Marvin who looked exposed in the first half, not Keogh, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Again,
I thought that.
Yeah, and considering Marvin's probably a third faster than Keogh, it shows how well he thinks the game. So I'll give him a 9. I can't remember him making any ricks. I could be wrong because the Swiss stream was a bit pixelated. So Keogh and Thornley and sounded blended together at times, but I thought he played well.
Jordan, Thornley, Tim. I think we mentioned him before. It was like he'd never been away, slotted straight in, and looked.
Well, I was just going to say some of the race. I thought the way he slotted back into the team was seamless, really, in that you wouldn't have known that was a player who hadn't been playing with Marv and Keogh and Dujon and
even have a banner. I must have deleted him. There you go. Sorry, Jordan. Yeah,
I think that to effectively make your debut, so to speak, following your return in a game like that, in a formation that we're not particularly used to, was a great testament to. He's obviously the Oxford fans highly rated him, didn't they, during his little sojourn out there. So I think I'm going to go. I'm going to push it up with Grimmy. I think it's a 9+ for me.
Jonathan Lee. I've lost my little graphic, so let's go.
It
Sterling.
was Sterling next, wasn't it? Yeah. I thought he had a very good game. What am I going to go? I'm going to go.
I thought it was the pick of the fullbacks, to be honest.
Yeah,
he
did. Yeah, and I think we gave Gabriel a 9, didn't we? So I will go 9+. I thought he had a very good game, Sterling, against a very good team.
I'll just shift myself down, pressed back on my Mac, and it took me off. Then Tim, into the midfield. Then you can have Kenny Dougal.
Yeah, efficient. I think him and I think this formation suits him, and as I said before in the main chat, suits him and Connolly as a pair, because they can do a little bit more. They can focus on what they're good at, and let others take the game to the opposition. So 8+.
Callum Connolly, Mitch. I thought he had one of his best displays in Tangerine that I've seen thus far.
Well, he did well for a leggy League One donkey, didn't he? He did. And I think he was what we really needed was somebody to disrupt Fulham, and he really did put himself around. Of anybody who was trying to knock them off the stride, he really did put himself around. I was quite surprised when he stepped up and took that free kick that he was taking set pieces for us, but it wasn't a bad free kick. I've seen worse free kicks. He's good in the air. I think that's one of the reasons why he is. I think maybe we can overlook what he could bring to the side, in the sense that he's not the midfielder I would pick week in, week out. He's not a midfielder who sets my heart racing, but he won quite a lot in the air as well, and he adds a certain physical presence that we haven't got, that we needed, and I thought he did well, and he did quite well at getting forward as well, and being available for things. So I think I'm going to go for 9 for him.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Well done, Callum. Come for a bit of stick in here, but yeah, you've did a really good job in that game. Right, as did Mitch say heart racing or something like that? Nick, so you've got Josh Bowler and another fine performance from Josh.
Yeah, absolutely superb. He's certainly on fire at the moment. He's we've talked many times about where he could be a little bit frustrating, but I think recent weeks he just he's getting his head up when he's got the ball. He was the outlet for us. He's hit the bar with that chance. Yeah, he could have squared it, but you can't really blame him for getting a shot off there in the position he was in. And he's took his goal really well. So stand out for me, and it's a 9+.
It's in my head. 9+ for Josh Bowler. CJ Hamilton, Tim, I think we've already eulogised about him on here, about this performance. Goes from strength to strength, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's proving all the doubters wrong, isn't he? Which is great to see, and as critical as we can be based on substandard performances, we're equally we'll eulogise where it's appropriate, and I think he's starting to prove that he can make it as a very, very good championship player, and I really quite liked this triangle of forwards with him and Bowler able to come in behind whoever's going to play up front, and without a shadow of a doubt, that was his best performance I can remember in quite a long time. So it's a 9.
I think we have been quite harsh on him, really. He had been out for a hell of a long period of time, and it does take time to adjust, doesn't it, when you're coming back into a side?
That's what football fans do, though, isn't it?
It was that Hartlepool game, wasn't it? I think where everybody was, raging, and even in that, to be fair, if Lavery had his boots on and he's put that chance away, then the CJ's come on and got an assist, hasn't he? But you've got to remember he's had those injuries, and I think as each game goes on now, he's getting a bit more confident and finding his feet again. And like you were saying, Mitch, he's getting shots off like he used to when he first came for us. So, first came to us. So who knows? Hopefully there's certainly an opportunity for him, isn't there, to get a run in the side now between now and the end of the season. It would be great, like it's been with Keshi to see how he's stepped up to life in the Championship. If CJ can do the same.
I was just going to say that Hartlepool game. I sort of wrote something on Twitter about, he's got a touch like a trampoline, and how is he play? And a couple of days later, I did feel really quite guilty about it, because I thought the lads, first game back, and the one thing in that Hartlepool game was he just kept trying. He kept getting it wrong, but the point was he just kept trying. He just kept picking the ball up and trying again and trying again and trying again. And that does matter. He's not a player who will hide. He's not a player who will stop. And I think that is partly why Critch seems to keep coming back to him, is because he'll just keep doing it. He'll keep doing it. He'll keep doing it, even if it's not his day. And I think he deserves some credit for that.
Yeah.
So sorry, CJ.
Right, and to round off the player ratings section is Shane Lavery. Is it Nick? Nick, is it you?
It's Mitch, I think.
I think it's me.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think Lavery sort of, he's going to get a lower mark than some of them, just possibly because, other people had the shots and scored the goal. But he put a storming effort in up front, as he always does. I can't remember if it was for Bowler's effort but he played a lovely pass at one point, which is not always what you associate with Lavery. He sort of showed some real awareness. And I thought, I think I'll go for 8+, because he just never stopped and did what Lavery does. And he's probably the most convincing player in that one up front role that we have. 8+.
Okay, there should be interesting manager ratings around the room. Nick, I think he dropped a bollock at the beginning of the game, but readjusted after the enforced break. So how do you think Critchley did?
I think overall it's a 9. Like you say, during that break, whatever was said, it worked really, really well, and you've got to give him credit for that. And every time he picks a team, there's raised eyebrows, isn't there? And more often than not, we're at the end of it going, do you know what? Fair enough. He gets more right than he gets wrong. And like I say, whatever he said during that break made a real difference. And we've gone away from home and got a point against a team who score half a dozen for fun. So it's a 9 for me, maybe a 9+ even.
Tim, one thing we agreed with after the game was when Critch came over, and he sort of quelled the 3 fist pump thing that he normally does, the Klopp style thing. We both liked that as well, didn't we? The fact it would have been a bit Tim Pot for us to be celebrating a draw. That was
he sort of
a bit of class, didn't it?
He was doing some sign language, wasn't he?
He was just like going, something like that. Or just...
Yeah. So and it's rightly so. I think you've got to reserve that for wins and only wins. Otherwise, it dilutes its effectiveness, I think, and the whole point of it. So, I do think he dropped a bollock at the beginning, but he's recognised that. He doesn't need us to tell him. And I just find it exceptional the way that we can tweak something that makes such a dramatic difference to the way that a team, the same 11 players play. And it really was us stepping forward probably 10 or 15 yards up the pitch from where we were. And so every credit for that. I downgrade him a little bit only because if we hadn't had that enforced break, I think it would have probably had to wait till half time. And I think we might have lost the game by that point. So I'm going to go for 8+ on that basis.
That's fair enough, Tim. Mitch, over to you.
Well, I think Nick put it perfectly, and I was going to go for 9 I was going to go for 9 with basically what Nick said, but I'll keep the plus because he had some enjoyable banter with Marco Silva, where Silva was just having a right rage at him, and he just sort of smiled quite sweetly at him and shrugged, which I enjoyed greatly. So he keeps the plus for me there.
Actually, Go on, sorry, John. I was just going to say the other thing was, which made me smile, was when he did his post-match, he clearly knew all about the booze cruises, didn't he? And he had a chuckle about that, which I thought was fantastic. And he clearly absolutely loves the buzz that comes from the terrace. He absolutely, he's probably more than any other manager I can recall, and maybe Billy S was in the same category, but he's the one who really seems to actually get a real buzz and thrive on it.
He actually said he wished he was in the away end when we scored the goal, and he says he wished he was in with all the limbs.
Which is brilliant, isn't it? Because when he first started, it had him down to be a bit of a grey bloke. He just didn't seem very interesting at first, and it's just slowly come out of it. This sort of Critch the casual sort of thing. It's this sort of it's really, really nice to see that who's under him is actually a bloke that's a really, really likable bloke.
Did you give a score, Tim?
I did. I went 8+, but I'm just
Yeah,
upped it to 9 on the basis of his post-match comments.
And joining in with the limbs. Okay, just to round the game off, the Fulham game. It's going to be a tough one, this. The man of the match section. We did go out to the listener base on Twitter, asked them the question. I gave them a shortlist of Bowler, Thornley, Sterling and Grimshaw. That was my pick, the top 4. Bowler comes out with a standout winner on 47.5%. Thornley second, 26.3%. Grimshaw third, 15%. And Sterling after that on 11.3%. So, Nick, who was your man of the match of this game?
It was Bowler. I think you could probably add Keogh to that list. I know you can only do 4 on Twitter, but, and I don't know that it might be a bit closer than what is on there percentage-wise. I think, Grimshaw made brilliant saves, had a very, very good game. Thornley just getting chucked back in. He was fantastic, as was Sterling and Keogh. But I think I've got to give it Bowler just overall with him in getting the goal. That's my man of the match, Bowler, I think.
Tim, over to you. Josh Bowler again. Fine vein of form he's in.
He is, and I think it's been said in the chat, this is probably a quite a difficult one, this one, which is great. I would have I'd have had it between Bowler, Thornley and Grimshaw, probably of the 4 that are there. I think it's also probably one of our highest sets of scores, actually, for Saturday, which is a great testament to where everybody played. I think then they've got to look at Bowler and look his overall contribution and say that he deserves the plaudits. But it's very, very close, I think, from Thornley and Grimshaw for me.
Mr. Mitch, obviously no big Gaz there today, so pull yourself off to the floor at disappointment and give us your man of that.
I'm sure Gaz had a contribution in the changing room during the break. So
more than just a goal machine. Do you remember that? The tag we've given him. He's more than just a goal machine.
No, Josh Bowler. I mean, hit the bar, scored the goal. In a display like that, take Bowler out, and I think we do really struggle. Which I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. But Bowler demonstrated why he was a player we really, really couldn't afford to let go, in my view, on deadline day. And I think there, but yeah, same as everybody else has said, there's a lot of players come out of that game with a lot of credit, but Bowler, I think, deserves man of the match.
Yeah, which nicely segues us on to deadline day. We're going to have a brief chat about that before we go. Tim, as Mitch has just said, he really didn't want to lose Bowler. I was in the same camp. I was thinking, do not sell him. The figures that were being bandied around, 1.5, 2 million, 3 million. It's not a big amount in the current climate.
No, it seemed quite remarkable that we were even allegedly. I don't think it was probably true based on what we know since. That we were prepared to when somebody said, if somebody reaches Blackpool's asking price of 1.5 million, I thought, what?
People just make bullshit up on Twitter. I'm sure they do. These accounts. Where's this information coming from?
I don't. Anyway, so it would appear that there was a £3 million bid. Now, whether the club rejected it or whether Bowler ultimately rejected the move after the 2 clubs agreed terms, it depends on which in the know sports journal you listen to. Because I think Nixon said the club knocked it back, didn't he? And then this other guy said that Bowler knocked it back. Now, whichever one it was, I'm very, very glad that they did. And I think it just probably shows that, that we are a championship team and want to stay as a championship team, because you don't let your best players go for diddly squat. And, if you're going to follow that sort of Brentford model, you've got to make sure that you get top dollar for them, and that gives you then the money to replace. The only way I'd have been happy if we'd sold Bowler would have been if we got 2 targets in that Critchley, and obviously Critchley really fancied Brannigan. Apparently we offered £1 million for Brannigan in the end. That was what was being suggested. Not enough as it happened, although it's all a bit weird because there was the talk that he had a £1.2 million trigger that had actually lapsed, and that therefore you could bid lower than that. But the fact that we're bidding £1 million, I suspect that would have only gone through if Bowler had gone out the door. But yeah, I think to get over the line and not to lose any of our decent players is a great testament to the management and the ownership at Blackpool Football Club, that they're prepared to stand the ground and not do what we've seen in the past and let players walk away for below par value.
Mitch, in our WhatsApp group, the patrons WhatsApp group, there was I was agreeing with pretty much everything you were saying about Bowler. There was a lot of sense being talked about. Yeah, well, if we sell Bowler 4.5, it's decent money, you can get reinvested, blah blah blah. But as I've said on this pod before, he's almost a once in a lifetime, not a lifetime, but once in a 10, 15-year player, Josh Bowler. And to sell him for anything less than 7-8 million would have been ridiculous to me. And I'm glad it's been a more of an emotional decision that's been made by Simon Sadler, I think, rather than just cashing in and reinvesting. That's the sort of player you pay your ticket for, and you want to see him play. And I think it's brilliant that we've turned down a £3 million bid and kept him.
We're all old enough. I mean, the first special play I saw was Tricky Trev, and we're all old enough to remember that. And then, I had to wait quite a long time to see another player of that kind of class or quality. If I try and think about
it's Trev Wes Bowler, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. With the odd player, like I loved Simo, but it was at the end of his career. You occasionally get these players where you get 8 months, 12 months out of some ancient old lag who turns out to be pretty good. I loved watching Simo, Trev, Wes, Charlie, and the odd flash of a few other players. And I sometimes think the younger people amongst us don't quite appreciate how unusual it is to see a player of Bowler's magical ability in a tangerine shirt, and that we can get 3 million for him and we can get 2 more players, but one of those players might be shite. There's no guarantee that you buy a player and they're actually any good. Yeah, I'm just laughing at Rory Prendergast then. One of the players might be crap. And I think the other point, I think this is really quite important, is I don't think we've seen the best of Bowler. I think if you look at most of our squad, if you look at, say, Keshi, who I absolutely love to bits, I think you can look at Keshi and say he is playing out of his skin, or he has played out of his skin this year. And I'm not saying he's peaked. I'm not saying he's as good as he could be, but you don't look at Keshi and think, wow, he could be, 50% better again. You think he could be 5% better, 10%. You look at Marvin and you think, well, with better players around him, Marvin could go a long way. But I don't necessarily think you look at Marvin and think, he individually could improve, or Jerry, or whoever. But with Bowler, you get the sense that he's actually crap at quite a lot of stuff. And if he could become adequate at that,
coachable as well, isn't it?
Yeah. If he could just become, if he could improve on some of his weak points, he really could be some player. And that 2.5 million, 3 million, 3.5 million, whatever, would look like a joke for him if he puts it all together. And if we're being offered 3 million for him on the basis of what he's done so far, which has been sporadic, it's been fitful. He's played well for the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks. He's played really well, and there's those signs that he might be starting to put it together. Then, if we're getting bid on the basis of what we've seen, what if he plays like he has done for the last 4 weeks for the next 6 months? Then he's going to be worth a lot of money. It's like
a stick or twist situation, isn't it? Right, if he breaks his leg, or he just really has a dip in form, you've lost a couple of million. But
Yeah,
you know,
which is not a lot. And you could say that about any player. You know, well, let's sell Yates, let's sell Lavery, let's sell Grimshaw because they've done well now and we might get injured, we might lose out on them. I don't understand why people want to sell a player who is just so thrilling to watch when he's good. I don't get it. What are we playing here? Sort of accountancy simulator or something? No, we're football fans. We want to watch stuff we want to be thrilled. We want to be on our feet. We want to be celebrating goals, not talking about, oh, well, we've got to balance Simon's books for him. Now he can worry about that. He's bought the football club and I appreciate he's got to balance the books, but he can worry about that. I'm not worrying about that. I'll pay me ticket and I'll want to see good players. And I'm not going to scream and Paddy saying I want him to spend all his money, but I don't get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I echo it as well. And like you say, there's people going, oh, well, £1 million or $1.5 million allows us to do X, Y, and Z. It probably doesn't get you better than what you've got. And you look at the fees being quoted for other teams' players in the Championship. The lad at Forest, 18 million. Is he £17.5 million or whatever, £17 million better than Josh Bowler? And like you say,
he's 22 as well, Nick, isn't he? He's 22.
Yeah, another 12 months with us doing what he's doing, and you may be talking 15, 20 million quid player. And that's when you could go, fair enough, that's too much to turn down. You reinvest and you become stronger overall because you can bring in 4 or 5 players for that.
Yeah, that's game-changing money, isn't it?
Yeah,
squad. That's club-changing money.
3 million isn't game-changing for us in the Championship. So fair play to the club. And I know quite a lot of people were a bit cheesed off that we didn't get a central midfielder over the line. But, you know, I think where we are in the league, we ain't going up, we ain't going down. We'll do enough to probably get a mid-table position, and then we do what we need to do in the summer. And it's not like we haven't signed anyone. I know it wasn't yesterday. We did quite a bit of our business earlier in the window, didn't we, in terms of incomings? And we've also, someone's mentioned in the comments there, I think it's David Coleman, we got rid of the deadwood, that's been hanging around for quite some time as well. That's important to get those, 5 or 6 out. Although, to be fair, the Viking, I wouldn't have minded keeping hold of him, but some of the others who just weren't going to feature, it was good to get them off the books. And loads of clubs haven't had a great transfer window. I was driving home from work tonight and it was Arsenal fans ringing in, going mad that, they've sold a player and not replaced him. And there's plenty around us in the Championship who haven't really done much business. So we're not the only ones. And the fact that we're turning down 3 million, I think, shows how far we've come as a club.
Tim, there's Antonio Simeone who's put, I think the club needs to sort out a better contract for Bowler. So he's on the contract expires, but he's got a +1. So maybe that's what Simon's thinking, isn't he?
And
turn this down, get him signed up, and say, look, if someone comes in for you, we won't stand in your way, but we'll do right by you if you do right by us.
And that's the model that we want to follow. I mean, albeit there's other bits I don't like about the Preston model. The one thing they've always done in recent years is get proper money.
They have, yeah,
for one player a season. I think that they've sort of dipped off a little bit recently, but they've been getting like £10 million plus for players, and all of us
for Bowler. It's just a joke.
All of us recognise that when bids like that come in, that is one where the club's got to say, A, that makes good business sense, and secondly, that you got to think about the player as well, because if you want to attract the best players to your club, you've got to be able to say to them, a little bit like Holloway was doing at the beginning, was you come here, we'll make you a better player, and you will get the move that will be life-changing for you, on both on a footballing and a financial basis. And I think that's the point where you don't stand in somebody's way. What you don't do is sell them to a Championship rival for where they'll get a bit more money and we get a few quid in our pockets. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to understand the value of your players, make the most of them. It's like when I know it all went a bit sour, but it's like when Tom Ince came in. Tom Ince was a fantastic player, and if he'd been under Critchley now, we'd have ended up getting £10 million for him, and that's exactly the model to keep following. We got Cathcart in when he was young. Cathcart's played Premier League football for virtually every year since he left us. And that's because he's a quality player, and we should have got decent money for him. And if we can get that and get that churn of players where people want to come to us and play for us, and we get to see these exciting players for 2-3 years, and then they move on and have a career, then I'm happy with that.
Everyone's a winner.
Everybody's a winner, and it balances the books or gets close to balancing the books for Simon. And, because I think we were listening on the way back from London, weren't we? The average loss per week in the Championship is in excess of £500,000. Now, that is basket case. And I don't want Simon losing £500,000. I'm sure he doesn't either, to lose £500,000 a week. That is just absolutely off the scale. Now, but if you can lose £250,000 a week, but get a turnover of players where you're actually getting 5 million back here and 5 million back there, then it starts to make a little bit more sense. And Preston balanced the books didn't maybe not quite balance them, but got close to balancing the books quite regularly by doing that. And that's what we've got to do, hopefully, and play attractive football at the same time, and hopefully have plenty of away days like we had on Saturday.
And most importantly, an interesting little tale from the other day. I was walking Eddie to school on the day of deadline day, and he was asking what it was, and I said, "Oh, it's where potentially we could be selling and buying players." And I told him there's a very good chance Josh Bowler might be leaving. He looked at me and he went, "What?" And he started welling up. He was starting to cry when I said Josh Bowler might be leaving. And what a moment that! And I told him in the morning, and he was over the moon. So yeah, it's Mitch. It's emotional things like that don't make the way onto a balance sheet, really.
I know how he feels, because obviously Sully left in summer, didn't he? So I've not quite been the same. I thought you were going to say the most important thing is that PSG bid never came in for Gary Medine, and we still got him. But I think the other thing with it, it's like who we were selling him to, like, Bournemouth or Forest, or like.
It's not Arsenal, it's not City, it's not United, is it?
I said on Twitter, it's like if you sort of cast back to some of our sales that we've had over the years. Like, I was thrilled for Brett when he got into the Premier League. I was thrilled. I remember watching the cup final that Brett played against Arsenal. And with
Millennium Stadium.
Yeah, I didn't physically go. When we're going to the pub with my Blackpool shirt on, and I can't remember where I was, and the Southampton fans in there and talking, "Oh, it's Brett." I mean, absolutely buzzing for him. But selling Bowler to Bournemouth would have been like, do you remember Wigan they were around us, and Wigan used to just buy everybody at that time. They went up, I think, around then. It would have been like selling Brett to Wigan for 400 grand or something. It just felt crap. Bournemouth, for God's sake.
Actually, when we were driving down, we stopped to charge my car, and these guys had gone inside for a sit down, and being the geeky EV guy that I am, I started chatting to the guy next to me. Yeah. How's your charging going? And it turned out.
How's your charging going?
How's your charging going?
How many
kilowatts per hour are you getting? Anyway, but that was
be a spin-off pod, Tim. You could set this up.
Well,
I'm doing that at 10 o'clock.
Tim, just hang on. Mitch, you joke. Tim has been uploading EV tutorial videos to YouTube.
Oh,
I had to.
No.
Anyway, but the reason I was telling the story was it turned out that he was Brett's best mate, and used to play in the same team at Blackburn with him.
And Barry Shuttleworth.
There you go.
And
so
Barry
if I hadn't been the geeky, and Barry Shuttleworth as well, yeah.
There's another living legend.
No, he actually said he was really good next because he had a bad injury. But yeah, we've got a few more outgoings you can see on the ticker. So out is Viking, Mitchell, Nuttall, Labala, Howe.
Somebody said in the chat that Mitchell's just come on a sub for Hibs.
He scored on his debut, didn't he?
Yeah.
Scored his debut. Did you see how Teddy Howe got on his debut?
Oh, God.
They'd lost 5-0. Straight into the team at right back. 5-0 home defeat.
All down the left side.
Well, I don't know. Bless him.
But I think, as David Coleman said on the chat there, we've got rid of some deadwood, and I think that was a key part of the deadline for us, wasn't it, of this transfer window, to get rid of that deadwood and that's gone, and that'll free up the wages for a good push at promotion. I think, as you said, didn't you, Nick, on the previous segment?
Yeah, well, whether it's promotion, but I think you can probably do your better business in the summer than you can, and last minute on the transfer deadline day. And some of those players, I think, were probably on decent money, which is why they've been around as long as they have. So it certainly frees up some wages. And we've also brought the lad in from Southport today, and he's gone back on loan, hasn't he, for the rest of the season? So we will see how he does. I think he's 22, isn't he? So not really young, but certainly one for potential, hopefully. So we will see what happens there.
We certainly shall. Right, we're on an hour and a half. Blimey, it's been a long show, but a good one nonetheless. So thanks for coming on, everybody, this evening. It's been a slog, but hopefully all our voices and our well-being improved.
I bought my tangerine pants to wear Fulham for the Tarquin Day, whatever we're going to call it, and they stayed in my suitcase.
Got to wear them. Got to wear them.
Hey, John, before we go, I've just got to give a quick mention. I think I mentioned on the WhatsApp group, we've just got to give a quick mention to the lads who we were with after the game in the Temperance Bar, Jimmy and his pals, big fans of the podcast, very complimentary, and also bought me a Jaeger bomb. So thanks for that, chaps. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Welcome. Oh, sorry. Thanks for everyone who's said nice things about the pod on the in the ground. It's really appreciated. Right. So I think we'll call it a day. There. Who do we play on Saturday? I've just forgotten.
Bristol City.
Bristol City. So the preview guys will no doubt be putting out a preview on Thursday, and we'll be doing a reaction after that. And that was the pod. Thanks everybody in the comments for commenting, and always we said, thanks for watching, thanks for downloading, and up the pool.